Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to try out Claydol in the Willpower Cup. I saw a lot of people use it yesterday, and I think it is a very strong pick, getting that newly buffed Mud Slap. It has a lot of coverage moves as well. Honestly, it used to be a running joke that every single moveset update, Claydol would have to get some sort of new move, so it has a ton of different options. I think in this meta, Scorching Sands and Ice Beam is the play. Ice Beam coverage against Mandibuzz is huge, as you'll see in today's video. I actually stream my battles every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this gameplay live, I stream starting 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. I'd love to see you there, but let's hop right into the battles and see what this Claydol team can do. Alright, game number one. Let's see what we're going to have in the lead. Claydol up against a Lucario. Fantastic lead for Claydol. Obviously, we resist counters. We do super effective damage with Mud Slap. And their safe swap into Claydol is a Shadow Drapion. Not exactly the best Pokemon you want to bring in there, but I'm going to get the Mud Slap damage and keep our Claydol alive for that Lucario. Swap into Mandibuzz to absorb all of the energy that we can. This Shadow Drapion is going to try its best to flip switch advantage, but the only way they can, I think, is if they go down 2 shields here, which if they do that, I'm not that worried about that Lucario, and I know that our Claydol up energy and up shields is going to be a very strong pick in the backline. Are they going to shield this up? They are going to shield that first move, and since they shield once, they literally are going to have to shield twice, or else they're going to lose switch and shield advantage, which you just kind of can't do in this game, right? You need one of the two. You can't go down both, so I'm expecting another shield from our opposing trainer here. Aerialist will come through. I throw on bad timing to guarantee I get it off before them to make them make this play. They have to double shield their Shadow Drapion. I have not used a single shield myself yet, but now this Aqua Tail will come through, hopefully knock us out, and make it so we can Mud Slap them down. They actually might have undercharged that Aqua Tail there to give themselves one extra Poison Sting, which now means they get a charge move against Claydol. I'm going to shield this up. I don't want to take this chip. It would put us at about half of our health here. Aqua Tail is a super effective move from a Shadow Pokemon. I want to make sure that we keep our Claydol healthy. We saw for just a second there they have Mandibuzz as their third Pokemon, which makes a lot of sense. They're already very weak to Claydol. They needed a hard answer to it, but we still have our Shadow Drapion alive. We just shield one move from this Lucario, and we can knock them out with 2 Aqua Tails, outpace them, and as long as I chip down that Mandibuzz, force them to throw energy against my Shadow Drapion, I think we're actually still in a pretty good spot this game. Ice Beam from Claydol does not two-shot a Mandibuzz, at least not from full HP, so I want to land an Aqua Tail against that Mandibuzz, then swap out to Claydol. I know that Claydol is extremely bulky, even though Mandibuzz does have that super effective Dark Pulse damage. It's not going to be able to one-shot us here. They need 2 charge moves to knock me out, and I have so much energy loaded on Claydol at this point that I'm thinking we're still in a very good spot here. A Dark Pulse will come through. It's not going to knock us out, as I was saying. It's not even going to put us into range where we're going to get fast move down. They're going to have to throw, honestly, at this point, probably another Dark Pulse. I don't think even an Aerialist would be enough. We have the first Ice Beam loaded. Claydol, despite not having fast move pressure, has a lot of charge move pressure with these Ice Beams, and now we're going to reach the next one here in just a second, knocking out this Mandibuzz and taking out the flyer here. GG's to our opponent Claydol, showing just how versatile it can be with this moveset and how oppressive it can be up shields. GG's to our opponent. Next game is going to be Dijon the Jin. Okay, oh my goodness. Up against the Shadow Alolan Raticate. A very terrible lead for us, but we have ways to deal with this. A lot of neutral damage, but we don't really resist anything that they're going to throw against us. Yesterday we had the Poniard, which shuts this down. Today we have nothing that really destroys this, but our Shadow Drapion can swap in, go for Aqua Tails, and try to chip it down as much as possible. We're going to shield up this move. Probably going to be a Hyper Fang. It would basically knock us out from this range, Shadow into Shadow. A very powerful move as well. They actually end up banking a little bit of energy, though, and then swapping into their Shadow Drapion. I love how much energy lead I have here. I don't think they quite put me into range where I get knocked out by an Aqua Tail yet as well, which means that I can probably throw this move, come in with either our Mandibuzz or our Claydol, depending on how I want to leverage advantage this game, and potentially still win this matchup. They actually overfarm there, which I was not expecting. I thought that they'd actually try to throw the move instantly just in case I tried to snipe them down with Claydol, but they didn't do that. I still sniped them down with Claydol right here, but after taking that Aqua Tail on our Shadow Drapion. What are they going to bring in at this point? It's going to be that Raticate. That makes a lot of sense at this point. But look at how much damage we're doing with Mud Slaps here. I can shield up this Shadow Crunch. It's going to do a lot of damage if I let it through. I think I kind of have to shield. I have to keep our Claydol alive. And in the back, we're going to see their final Pokemon is a Shadow Gardevoir. Fantastic for our Claydol here because we are so bulky. We actually do basically as much fast move pressure against them as they do to us. And the best thing is we got that attack drop as well. I can just go straight for fast moves at this point. I know that Raticate has nowhere to go against our Mandibuzz. And after I fast move down this Shadow Gardevoir, our Mandibuzz is going to be in a great spot. We did get that attack debuff. They just boosted their attack once there with that triple axle, so it's going to be a neutral, or a +0, I guess I should say, charm, hitting against our Mandibuzz there. Now we're going to go for an Air Release against this Shadow Raticate. Even 2 Shadow Hyper Fangs I don't think knock us out quite yet, so yeah, our opponent realizes at that point it is game over. GG's to them. Alright, Claydol up against Mandibuzz. Terrible lead matchup, but we've seen how we can kind of play around this matchup if we need to. So safe swap our Shadow Drapion. In comes the Claydol. This is not looking great. This is going to be the hardest answer to our Shadow Drapion safe swap, but we do have super effective charge move pressure with both these Aqua Tails and the Crunches. So depending on where the shields go this game, there's still a chance that we can flip this. They end up throwing the Scorching Sands here. If they get a debuff, then the next Aqua Tail probably won't draw a shield, and if it doesn't get a debuff, then it's going to be just straight Aqua Tail spam for us. But since they did debuff, I have to throw the Crunch, and I have to guarantee the shield here from our opponent. They do end up shielding that. Unfortunately, that is not what we wanted to see, because if we landed that move, I could have flipped Switch Advantage, but now I have to come in Claydol here and try our best to fast move this down. So at this point, I know if I shield this up, they don't get a debuff with Scorching Sands. I can probably just Mud Slap them all the way down here, and they Ice Beam. That's not even going to be able to debuff us. Now we get a full farm down. We have enough energy on our Claydol that we can probably reach 2 Ice Beams against the Mandibuzz before they're going to be able to reach a single charge move. If that is the case, then Claydol is going to be able to either almost knock out this Mandibuzz or draw a shield from this thing, and this is the most damage we're going to do, right? We have our own Mandibuzz in the backline. It's not like our Mandibuzz is going to be a fantastic answer to this Pokemon, so throwing this next Ice Beam here is going to do a critical amount of damage to Mandibuzz. We try to catch the move, but they don't fall for it. In the back, unfortunately, is going to be a Pawniard. That is not what you want to see here. I love this little guy, but now I have to face it myself here. That's not what I like to see. I like to use this Pokemon. I don't like to get RPS'd by it. A very tricky team to see. I don't think we could really have won this one. Claydol into Drapion. We had Mandibuzz into our own Claydol, and then obviously Pawniard into our Mandibuzz. Super RPS line against me here, but we are going to try our best here to go for these I guess, resisted damage that we have. These Dark Pulses, these Air Slashes, they're not doing much. X Scissors and Fury Cutters are adding up against our Mandibuzz, and despite the fact that Pawniard is kind of squishy, their shield advantage here is just a little bit too much to overcome. They do throw the charge move here to knock us out. Only way I might have been able to win this game is if I caught, but even if I did, that Mandibuzz has enough health and energy on it that there's like no way that I win this match, I don't think. And they do swap into their Mandibuzz. They throw a Foul Play and put us so low that there's nothing that we can do there. GG's to our opponent. Our next game, we're going to see our Claydol in the lead up against Shadow Gardevoir. Okay, we were talking about this just a little bit earlier, where Shadow Gardevoir, even though it is a very fast move pressure-based Pokemon, it is so squishy, and Mud Slap is such a good move that we are keeping pace, if not even just doing more damage than this Gardevoir is doing to us. So we can go for these Scorching Sands, try to go for attack drops, and get the shield advantage for our backline. If they throw a charge move here, then we're going to be able to shield and farm down, but if they don't throw a charge move, then it's going to be a little bit awkward. They can probably just farm us all the way down, but since they threw that charge move, I get the next Mud Slap through, I land that Mud Slap, and I knock them out. In comes their next Pokemon. It's going to be a Claydol. Unfortunately, 2 Mud Slaps would knock us out, so I just have to take the Scorching Sands here and be happy with the chance of debuffing them. No debuff, unfortunately for us. And in the back, it's going to be a Guzzler. Okay, one of the trickier Pokemon for this entire team, but we still have a lot of play, right? Mandibuzz is not running Snarl here, running Air Slash, so a lot of neutral pressure, and I know there is still that Claydol around, right? So I want to keep our Mandibuzz healthy. We're just kind of using our Shadow Drapion as a way to sponge energy here, to do as much damage as we can without really investing in it, so that way our Mandibuzz has a clear shot at winning this game. Crunch does actually get shielded. They probably have seen a couple of these Drapions running Sludge Bomb rather than just Crunch Aqua Tail, so they wanted to respect that, which does make a lot of sense. It would do more damage than anything Mandibuzz could do, but now that we've landed so many Poison Stings and we landed that Aqua Tail as well, this Guzzler is so low that I think one Aerial Ace should knock them out. I'm also going to know, just save my shield, right? I know that that Ice Beam or potential Rock Tomb from a Claydol is going to do so much more damage than a Dragon Claw from a Guzzlord. I can even survive another Dragon Claw if I need to. We wait a turn there to make sure that they don't end up catching that Aerial Ace, which is very good for us that we did that, because in comes that Claydol here. They tried to catch the move. Now I just need to shield once, farm this all the way down. Their win condition is going for the Scorching Sands, getting an attack drop, and then maybe surviving a move on their Guzzlord. They actually go for it. Luckily, no debuff happens here this game, and now we have the Aerial Ace loaded. We can throw it against this Guzzlord. We're almost at 2. If this doesn't knock out, we can probably fast move them down or reach that second charge move before they knock out our Mandibuzz, and we can take the game there. GG's to our opponent. Alright, another Mandibuzz lead. We know the drill at this point. We're going to come in Shadow Drapion, try to do our very best to do neutral play against this Pokemon. We know there aren't that many hard answers to Mandibuzz in the meta, but there's a lot of ways to play around it, so that's what I'm going to try to do right now. They come in with this Aerial Ace, they throw it, and now they come in with their own Drapion. If this is a Shadow Drapion, 2 Aqua Tails will be able to two-shot, but I think that was actually a non-Shadow Drapion that came in, which is a little bit more awkward, because now I need 3 charge moves if I want to take them out. They can easily absorb all of our energy and start throwing Aqua Tails of their own after they got that Aerial Ace off that has put us into range where one move will knock us out here. With that said, I want to chip this thing down a little bit more, make it so our Claydol can farm them down all the way before they can reach a charge move against us. So I'm going to shield once here, force them to throw another move against us if they want to knock us out, and then our own Shadow Drapion can go down, knowing that it gave our Claydol some energy lead against their Mandibuzz. They do end up throwing right before our next Aqua Tail here, as long as they're not 2 away from getting to another move. We should be able to Mud Slap down in 2, and it looks like we are just barely able to right before they get another charge move. Mandibuzz likely is going to come back in here, but we have Claydol with Ice Beam. We're going to try to reach it here before they're able to reach a charge move of their own, and because we can, this is going to be our most impactful charge move we can land against this Mandibuzz, and our own Mandibuzz can absorb all of their energy. We love to see it. They're not swapping out, so they're probably a little bit weak here to Mandibuzz. In comes the Aerial Ace. It does nothing to us, and now in the back is the final Pokemon, a Galarian Slowbro. What is this? This is not a Pokemon I was really expecting to see. I don't know what it's really targeting in this meta, but it's not targeting our Mandibuzz. It's not targeting our Claydol. We're going to be in a very good spot here, just going and shielding up this move. I know that a Sludge Bomb potentially is the most impactful charge move this game. We do properly shield it up, and now we can reach an Aerial Ace before they're able to reach another charge move here. If they want to shield this move up and go and invest in their Slowbro, they can, but they're in Mud Slap downrange. If they want to no shield, then they have to put everything on Mandibuzz at this point, and they're in range where I can land an Aerial Ace and almost knock them out, so they're going to have to shield if they don't want to get knocked out here, just with fast move pressure. My Claydol is also outside of range where a Dark Pulse would knock us out, so as long as I'm not super careless here, I don't give him a ton of energy, I'm going to be able to just close out this backline with Claydol. In comes an Aerial Ace. It doesn't knock out our Mandibuzz even, so we can just bring in our Claydol, force them to throw Dark Pulses here. They would need to throw a Dark Pulse and an Aerial Ace if they want to knock us out, but they're nowhere near enough energy for that. Claydol is just 2 Mud Slaps away from Ice Beam. We can land it here, take out the Flying-type Pokemon once again with our Claydol. Honestly, Claydol, I don't even see it as that weak to Mandibuzz. It's actually a pretty good answer because Ice Beam does so much damage. It's our highest damaging move against Mandibuzz on our entire team. So just kind of playing it around, dancing around the Mandibuzz is the way to play it. Right, fantastic lead for once here with the Shadow Skuntank, but in the back is going to be a Greninja, not a Pokemon I want to see, but a Pokemon that we have a lot of neutral fast move pressure against, since we're not running Snarl on Mandibuzz. The Air Slashes are doing a lot more damage to them. Hydro Cannons do a lot as well to us, but since they don't two-shot us here, we're actually in a pretty confident matchup, and I know I don't really care about switch advantage against that Shadow Skuntank, so if they want to start investing shields with their Greninja, I'm kind of fine just letting our Mandibuzz go and being in a good spot with that. If this Aerial Ace gets shielded, then I guess we'll see what our opponent wants to do. If it gets no shielded, we win switch advantage. They do actually end up throwing a move here and shielding that attack. I'm fine letting this go. I can farm down with Drapion. I can farm down maybe even with Claydol. And they actually go for a Night Slash bait that just barely does not knock us out. They probably have to double shield at this point if they want to take us out and keep switch advantage in their favor, which they do end up doing. But now I can just Mud Slap this down, and I'm only going to have to take 1 charge move because of how much damage these Mud Slaps do. Obviously, a Water and Dark type against a Ground and Psychic, not great, but our fast move pressure is just so much against them. And in the back is their own Claydol. Well, we know at this point the game is completely over. There's nothing they can do. I can just store enough energy to get to a Scorching Sands against that Skuntank later on, and I also know that Shadow Drapion, it can just close out the game if I need it, but I don't even know if I'm going to need to use it this game. I can just shield once, fully farm down this Claydol. We're just going to be able to win this game without even showing our third at this point. Claydol, can it get the farm down? 5 Mud Slaps later, it can. We have back-to-back Scorching Sands for the Skuntank. Not much they could do at that point. Alright, the next matchup here is Shadow Gardevoir in the lead. A very neutral matchup. The Mud Slaps do a lot, the Charms do a lot, so this matchup does end pretty quickly, but I can reach his Scorching Sands pretty early. Getting an attack drop here is crucial because it makes them throw a charge move against us. If we don't get the attack drop, they can shield once, farm us all the way down, and have a charge move for our backline, which I don't really like having to deal with because a triple axle is not a move I want to shield, but it might be a move I should shield. This is something I am going to no-shield it, though. It's going to do a lot of damage, probably about 40% of our Mandibuzz's health. Yeah, it's a lot of damage. Maybe I should have shielded that up. It depends on their backline, though, to see how much of a mistake that was. We instantly swapped to our Shadow Drapion, seeing that they came in the mirror match. That kind of made me think that Mandibuzz might be good in the backline, maybe something like a Claydol, but they are staying in Mandibuzz into Shadow Drapion, so that's kind of odd. I don't know what to do at this point. If they're staying in, I guess I just have to start spamming out these Aqua Tails here, shielding up Aerial Aces, and trying to keep our Shadow Drapion alive. Seems like they're a little bit weak to us here, so going for as much fast move and charge move pressure against them as we can is going to be the play for us to win this game. They're throwing another move. They're still staying in this matchup, so I'm going to double shield our Shadow Drapion, try to keep up as much energy as possible just in case they swap out to something I need to start throwing charge moves against. But now that we have this next Aqua Tail through, I think I have to land another one. No, I might even have to land 2 more if I want to knock them out here without having to make a catch on Mandibuzz. And I think I need to draw the shield, though. So we are going to have to throw all of our energy here, try to knock out this Mandibuzz any way that we can. But these Air Slashes and Aerial Aces have added up so quickly here that our own Shadow Drapion is very low. In the back is going to be their Shadow Drapion. We're going to be able to get knocked out by a single Aqua Tail here. And even though we have this move that we're throwing, they have a shield left over. We took that triple axle from our Mandibuzz from that Shadow Gardevoir, which means that now I think we're in a range where their Shadow Drapion only needs to land 2 or 3 charge moves to knock us out, and they're going to outpace us so heavily. We only have 2 Air Slashes. We need probably 2 Aerial Aces if we want to knock them out here, and now at this point, they are getting so ramped up, they have so much energy. I think they might just have us here with raw fast move and charge move spam. Our first Air Slash and Aerial Ace combination is going to come through here. This is going to chip them down a little bit, but not quite enough to knock them out, obviously. I need another Aerial Ace if I want any chance, but they are almost at their next move once again. This Shadow Drapion is just a little bit too spammy here. In comes their final move, and they just out-spammed us here this game. GG's to them. Unfortunately, not getting that debuff in the lead, then playing it out the way they did with that Shadow Gardevoir actually did kind of play uncomfortably for us, so it's kind of good to see how that plays out. I guess in the future, if I see that, I'll try to play it a little bit differently. Alright, Shadow Sableye, though, that's a terrible lead matchup. We have two Dark types in the back, though, so swap into Shadow Drapion. Try to get a Crunch off before they swap out, because it looks like they might not be able to have a hard answer to us here. So if that is the case, these Crunches are going to do a lot of damage. They actually let that go, which means now this Sableye might be in range where I can Mud Slap down, actually, or potentially Air Slash down later on. We'll see if they want to stay in this. Power Gem does get shielded up, and in comes a Shadow Drapion of their own. Luckily, the Shadow Claws they've done against us, though, have not put us into range where we get knocked out by a single charge move, so we can reach two Aqua Tails, put them into range where we can just fast move them down, and we're not in that bad of a spot despite the fact that it was a Shadow Sableye lead, right? We've kind of tripped down a lot of their team just with our Shadow Drapion at this point. We can farm this down with our Claydol. We could also maybe farm it down with Mandibuzz if we need to. They do end up shielding that attack, and what is our opponent going to do? At the last second, they're probably going to throw the Aqua Tail, make sure that we don't get to our next Aqua Tail against the Shadow Drapion. I could shield it up, but I feel like if I do, they just let that go. They farm down with Sableye, and that could be a very bad spot. Sableye down shields would be a catastrophic event to try to deal with. We actually catch a move here on our Mandibuzz, probably going to be a Crunch. A Crunch would have done a lot of damage to our Claydol. Luckily, though, against Mandibuzz does almost nothing. In the back is going to be a Shadow Gardevoir. You might be expecting this matchup to be just a hard counter loss, but at this point, remember, this is a Shadow Gardevoir. Dark Pulse is going to do so much damage if they let it go, and if they don't, they're going to be down shields. Claydol is still extremely healthy. They have that Drapion, sure, but I caught a move. I know that that Sableye is dry as well. As long as I have a lot of energy here, Claydol can probably farm this all the way down, get to 2 Scorching Sands, and just guarantee the win no matter what attempts our opponent tries to make of catching any moves. We do fast move them all the way down. Charms do a lot of damage after ramping up with that triple Axle, but we do have so much energy at this point. We just have to do 2 or 3 Mud Slaps here to get to back-to-back moves. It doesn't matter if they catch. That wasn't even a catch at that point. I knew I had back-to-back charge moves, so I'm going to throw the 1 Scorching Sands against one Pokemon, one against the other here no matter what, and knock out the Shadow Sableye lead with our Claydol. That was a very tricky matchup. Luckily, though, our Shadow Drapion put in a lot of work this game. We made some catches to kind of wiggle our way out of that matchup. GG's to our opponent. All right, Claydol against Chesnaught. Okay, that's a terrible lead matchup for us to see, but we have, once again, 2 answers to this in the back. Save swap our Shadow Drapion, see what they're going to do. These Poison Stings are actually adding up quite a bit, despite the fact that we have no charge move pressure against this, but we will shield up a Superpower. It would do way too much damage to let that go. In the back is going to be their own Shadow Drapion, which is not exactly a hard answer to us. We have enough of an energy lead as well that this can be kind of uncomfortable for them, depending on how they want to play it out. We already have our back-to-back Aqua Tails here. They're barely at 1 themselves. So now if I can get to a third, if I can start drawing shields from them, there's a chance we can flip this matchup. And they actually let that second one go. At this point, I'm kind of thinking if I shield the next Aqua Tail from them, I might be able to Poison Sting down, flip Switch advantage, and potentially win this game that way. They are going to keep on throwing energy here. I'm just going to double shield at this point. I know that I've gone down 2 shields, but I have 2 very bulky Pokemon that wouldn't mind Switch advantage, and even though our energy is resisted by that Chesnaught, I can throw a lot of damage, a lot of fast move and charge move pressure against them, but in comes not the Chesnaught, but another fighting type Pokemon, the Annihilate. Well, that's not exactly a counter here to our Mandibuzz. I thought they'd have a hard answer to Mandibuzz in the back, but no, they're just so incredibly weak to not only Mandibuzz, but Claydol here with this Annihilate that now that we got both shields down, I'm actually in a pretty decent spot. We come in Claydol because obviously there is that Chesnaught. I want to avoid that matchup. So despite the fact we're going to be taking Rage Fist, we're going to let them boost, we kind of have to do this, right? If they ever try to swap, we're going to swap to our own Mandibuzz, which it looks like they did actually swap out. They tried to potentially catch a Scorching Sands, but we are able to farm them all the way down here with our Mandibuzz, Aerial Ace that Annihilate, and there is nothing that our opponent can do to flip this matchup at this point. So taking out the Chesnaught lead with the Mandibuzz, taking out the Annihilate as well, Mandibuzz is going to be able to close out this backline. Very interesting team comp from our opponent. Yesterday I was wondering why would people use Chesnaught today? I did lose lead against the Chesnaught. I think this team could have maybe used a couple extra answers to Mandibuzz in the backline, but still, I guess now we know the reason for Chesnaught is to counter Claydol, which is not nice. Don't counter Claydol. I like this guy. Honestly, I like him a lot more than I thought I would today. Very flexible pick. All right, Claydol up against a Mandibuzz. Well, we're going to have to hope it's flexible, right? We're seeing the Mandibuzz once again. One of the trickiest leads that we could see, but in comes a Poniard. Okay, well, this is looking familiar. I was using a very similar team yesterday. If this is the team I was using, there's going to be a Quillfish in the back, which could be a little bit uncomfortable, but since we see that they're playing it out the way that I was kind of saying you probably don't want to play out this matchup where you just instantly come in Poniard, our Shadow Drapion's actually going to be able to put in a lot of work here, survive a charge move, maybe even get off 3 Aqua Tails before they can take us out. They throw a charge move. What is it going to be? Is it an Iron Head? Is it an X Scissor? It is only an X Scissor, so it doesn't knock us out. They probably have to throw a Night Slash if they want to take us out at this point, but our opponent doesn't even do that. They don't realize that we're at the next Aqua Tail. We are able to get both shields from this Poniard, come back in with our Claydol, shield up this attack, or I guess we're no shielding this attack. I guess that makes sense, right? They have a Dark Pulse on Mandibuzz. That would do more damage than a Night Slash from this little Poniard. So no shielding that move, getting a bit of an energy lead, and taking the 2-shield advantage that we have right now to potentially win this game. I'm thinking there's probably going to be that poison type in the back, right? A Pokemon that my Mandibuzz should have a lot of play into, and I saw that was only a foul play. That wasn't even a Dark Pulse. Claydol able to survive that on 1 HP, get off the Ice Beam. Now we have 2 shields to 0. Mandibuzz able to come in, absorb all of the energy, and build up a lot of energy ourselves. I think we've set up a way to win this game potentially, despite the fact that we were kind of RPS for the first half of this matchup. Aurelius, as you can see, doesn't do that much damage, which means that mine wouldn't knock them out there either. I want to build up as much energy as possible because Poniard is still alive. It's a Pokemon I don't really want to deal with without energy, or else we can really start ramping up here. We get this Aurelius off on CMP. We lose CMP, but that's fine at this point. We're going to just go for the fast move down, keep as much energy as we can. What comes in here? It is the final Pokemon. There is the Quillfish. All right, so it is the exact team I was using yesterday, although I think this trainer might actually be using a different fast move on this Pokemon. That looks like Poison Sting to me rather than Poison Jab, and we end up getting this Aqua Tail on 1 HP, just barely knocking out this Quillfish. I'm just saying, if they had Poison Jab, they knock out a Drapion before I get that move, so maybe I was onto something yesterday, right? In comes a charge move. Could be an Ice Beam, could be an Aqua Tail. I have to shield this up. I have to make sure Mandibuzz is still alive. Obviously, that Poniard is still around. That Mandibuzz is still around. So we have to do our best with Mandibuzz to sweep this backline. Mandibuzz, not really a Pokemon you really think about when you think of sweepers, but we get the full air slash down here. We have to be very careful to watch for a catch here. Poniard does come back in, but due to the fact they have a one-turn move, they make a proper catch here against our Mandibuzz. I have to fully undercharge this, air slash this down, hopefully have enough energy to have a move here loaded against this Poniard later on this game. We throw the Aerials, it's going to be able to hopefully knock them out or put them into range where one air slash should be able to knock them out here, but are they going to be able to reach a charge move? They survive on 1 HP. If this is just a Night Slash, we survive. If this is an X Scissor, it's going to knock us out. Mandibuzz just barely able to survive that Night Slash and get the full-on endgame sweep there. GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup. Well, we saw Greninja as a safe swap last time. This time it's in the lead, and it's probably one of the worst Pokemon our entire team can see here. Luckily, Mudslap does a lot of damage. I'm staying in this matchup as long as I can here, because I feel like the only way we're going to win this is if we can chip this down enough that we're not going to have to deal with it with our Greninja, or with our Mandibuzz rather, or our Shadow Drapion. So we're chipping him down as much as possible. Fast move damage does so much despite the fact that I'm not doing super effective. And now we do get the attack drop there, which is helpful. I think we survive a move from this Greninja, force him to throw a second attack against us, and then we might be in a decent spot here. In comes the Shadow Sableye, though. They hard swap, so they save a bit of energy on Greninja, and they come in with a Pokemon that I don't really want to see here. I can shield this up. I can try to get off some crunches, some Aqua Tails against the Sableye, and potentially knock them out here. Best case scenario, they shield this first crunch, I get a debuff, I land that second one and knock them out, but I think they're going to know to no-shield this attack. They probably survived the Poison Sinks, even with that defense drop, before I could get the full farm down. They were about to reach a foul play, so I do have to reach this Aqua Tail, knock them out here with this charge move, or draw the final shield. Alright, well, we know that they still have access to that Greninja. They still have a little bit of health on this Sableye I have to farm down. Oh, we actually survived that Power Gem there, so it's a Simul KO. It's going to be a bit of a 50-50 here. What do I come in with? Our Claydol's pretty low, though, so I think I have to come in Mandibuzz no matter what. What is their final Pokemon going to be? Fortunately for us, it's a Claydol. That is probably one of the best things I could see, although we have to keep in mind they still have a potential catch with their Greninja, and they also have the ability to Ice Beam us here with this Claydol. Ice Beam is going to do a lot of damage, as we've seen. I don't want to take two. 2 Ice Beams would basically lose us the game at this point, but if I can maybe catch a move on our Claydol, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to win this game. It's going to be very tight because they have energy on that Greninja as well. In comes Greninja here. They're watching for a catch, but here, I catch at the last second. I knew they had to throw at that point. They're just waiting so long that I was able to go and catch right before they got to their move, and now we have the full farm down. We reach the Dark Pulse, and we can knock out this Claydol. GG's to our opponent. Very, very close endgame there, but just waiting to the last second to catch. It was a bit of a Cold War there. Am I going to catch? Are they going to throw? Barely got the right end of that call. All right, looks like the next match is here up against the Claydol in the mirror match. A bit of an awkward situation, especially if I lag a turn here, which means that now I have to go for the Scorching Sands. I can't even bait that I'd go for the Ice Beam. If I went for the Ice Beam, they can throw before I do because of that lag, so it would mean that I would get denied a full Mud Slap, so I have to play out the 2 shields, go for Mud Slap, and hope for the best, shielding the proper moves here with our Claydol. We do not get a debuff, it looks like, with that first Scorching, but we will be able to outpace them in the second charge move, and they actually are running Shadow Ball, it looks like, on their own Claydol, which means our Mandibuzz would much rather be here, but it's totally fine, because Claydol is still a very strong Pokemon in this matchup, especially when I land the move, and we can just shield and farm them all the way down. We did actually land the debuff here against their Claydol, which means they might swap out at this point. They go for a full-on Shadow Ball. In comes a Shadow Drapion. Okay, interesting that they instantly swap that into a Ground-type Pokemon, but I guess down shields, strip down that much. They could probably knock us out with a Crunch or an Aqua Tail, so not the worst play in the world. They are going to throw a move against our Mandibuzz. This time it is going to be a Sludge Bomb. You can see just how much more damage that's going to do, which is a little bit uncomfortable for our Mandibuzz at this point. Spam out these Aerial Aces. These Air Slashes are going to trip them down as much as possible, but I think they can probably get to 2 more charge moves here against our Mandibuzz if they want to. They're throwing another Sludge Bomb. They can get to an Aqua Tail here in just a second before we can knock them out with Air Slashes, but they're actually going to opt here to try to fast move us down or potentially just want to get a farm down against something in our backline. Looks like, yeah, it's going to be a Pawniard in the back, so they wanted to intentionally get a farm down with Pawniard here against our Mandibuzz to have a bit of an energy lead going into Claydol, and now Claydol will come back in, instantly throw the Scorching Sands to get their final shield. We do have a lot of damage with the Mud Slaps, and the Mud Slap damage is probably putting them close to range where I can knock them out here with our Shadow Aqua Tail with our Drapion. We just have to watch for a catch. They still have their own Claydol alive, so as long as they don't boost, and as long as we watch for the catch, we should still be in a good position. Pawniard, it's a very scary Pokemon, but we've tripped it down so much at this point that we're not in that bad of a spot. We see the catch coming a mile away. We build up to back-to-back Aqua Tails, and despite the fact that we took a lot of Mud Slap damage there, I know I'm well outside of range where an Exeter knocks me out. We can throw this Aqua Tail on CMP against this Pokemon, and I know they don't have the Iron Head, but even if they did, well, honestly, maybe an Iron Head knocks us out, but Exeter definitely does not, and now we survive that. Aqua Tail knocks out the Pawniard. Just a bit of patience there, making sure a catch doesn't happen at a bad time there to win the game with our Shadow Drapion. GG's to them. Love the Pawniard pick. All right, Claydol up against a Shadow, or a non-Shadow Drapion, actually. Mud Slap damages so much here. In comes the safe swap of a tiny Shadow Annihilate. That's a very funny Pokemon to see. We catch the Shadow Punch, or the Rage Fist rather, here on our Mandibuzz, which means now we're going to be in such a strong position as long as we don't get close combated. We want to make sure that we throw the move before they're going to be able to, so even though it's on alignment, I'm going to throw first to draw the shield before they're going to be able to take a shield from me, just in case they had Ice Punch there. I wanted to throw a little bit earlier, and now they are throwing a charge move, likely going to be a close combat. I have to shield it up, because I do want to keep switch advantage against that Drapion if I can, because how is Drapion going to knock us out as well? Like, at this point, our Mandibuzz is so healthy that I'm going to probably get to 2 charge moves here if they don't just spam out all the Aqua Tails they can. Maybe they have Sludge Bomb as well, but if they have Sludge Bomb, then my Claydol is not going to be anywhere near as concerned about the charge moves here, so we are in such a good position at this point. They are overfarming a lot with this Drapion, but we are able to go for the energy advantage ourselves here, go for a lot of fast move pressure, and throw this Aerial Ace. If they don't throw a charge move, which they don't, they're saving as much energy as they can. They must want to overfarm as much as possible here to knock out our Claydol with charge moves later on. Maybe they're going to swap out. I don't think they can just yet. They have to throw a charge move against our Mandibuzz, and now Claydol should be able to come in, Mud Slap this down before they reach to, the 2 charge moves here. They end up throwing instantly. We survive whatever they're going to throw. I don't want to go down Shield Sing. I have a Shadow Drapion in the back. Crunch does a lot of damage, but not quite enough to knock us out. Mandibuzz is our opponent's final Pokemon. Alright, we have a lot of damage that we can throw against this with Ice Beam. They do end up shielding that move, so I have to get to another Ice Beam here if I want to do any sort of substantial damage. We have a Shadow Drapion ourselves in the back, but we are not running Sludge Bomb, which means we have to get some sort of damage somewhere, and I'm thinking Ice Beam is going to be our best source of damage this game. We do get almost half of the Mandibuzz's health taken care of before a Shadow Drapion comes in, so once again, we just have to watch for a catch. If they catch an Aqua Tail on their Shadow Drapion, I keep saying Shadow Drapion, they're running the non-Shadow Drapion. If they catch an Aqua Tail, that's all I'm trying to say, on their Drapion, at this point, that would be game over, so we have to keep watching for that. If we throw in the middle of a fast move animation, I can guarantee that doesn't happen, so just watch for an Air Slash to come through after one Poison Sting, and as long as they're locked in the animation, we can throw the Aqua Tail and knock this thing out. We don't see a fast move animation from them. We actually saw a bit of a frame drop, but we still were able to see that they did not throw a fast move. They were going to try for the catch there. We farmed them all the way down and take the game just barely. Alright, well, GG's to them. Very fun team here. Claydol is such a flexible pick. It's kind of funny. I wasn't really expecting it to be. A lot of Mud Slappers generally are, like, more RPS Pokemon, more alignment-based, but having Ice Beam coverage, being able to knock out Mandibuzz, and being just such a flexible pick here, it was a very fun team and a very fun Pokemon to use. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, please make sure to check me out there. Also, I'm going to upload a lot more videos to the channel, so if you want to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe. Alright, well, thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.